Okay, we're back. Thinking about calling this video Managing Expectations, but really I'll probably make it upriding your bike. This bike belongs to a friend from the dog park. She also used to be a customer of mine from my first shop, Kenton Cycle Repair, back in 2013, 14, 15, those days. And she's got all the tune-ups done, bike work done and stuff, and that was great. And she recognized me at the dog park and was like, "Hey, want to help me on my bike?" And I was like, "Yeah, totally. That sounds fun." So it is like a modern hybrid, specialized. I don't know. Is this plastic? No, it's aluminum. It's like, oh, they're making plastic hybrids now. I mean, Crayon fiber. This has got like an Altus 8-speed stuff. She found her own bar. So this is a big steel. Yeah, there's a big seam in there. So just a big cheap steel. It's heavy, but not super heavy. Black uprighty bar. This bike comes with the stock flat bars, which 99% of hybrids and old mountain bikes and things like that came with, and 99% of people can't stand or like. I don't know why they don't just go risers on everything. Who knows what the thinking is. So we will swap this dude out. This bar has a bulge in it, so it's probably for 25.4. Oh, it's a walled bar. I've never seen a black walled bar. I wonder if someone painted it. Maybe they come that way. It's probably 25.4. It's a flat bar. The stem is probably 25.4. These old bars are probably 25.4. If you see this cable and housing, it doesn't look like there's a bunch of extra. So the chances of me having to replace all of this cable and housing are pretty good. Now the reason why I was calling it Manage Your Expectations bike is because the first thing I did when I threw it in the stand before turning the camera on, I grabbed the old chain checker and put it on here, and this chain is showing pretty worn out. It's at like 0.75 or whatever. A lot of people say to change your chain at, but this one says replace your chain at around 1. You know, whatever. I used to really only do the old school trick. You guys ever seen the old school trick? I'm going to show it off. So the old school trick, and really the only accurate way, because all these chain checkers are wrong. People say the roll-off one or something is really accurate, but it's confusing. The old school trick is that these chains are on a perfect half-inch pitch between the pins. So how to actually check for wear is to grab a really high-quality, well-made ruler. This is like the Park Tools ruler. It's also got like a spoke gauge in it and all your bearing sizes and cotter pin sizes and stuff. So grab a good high-quality ruler and line up the arrow right at the very beginning of your ruler side, your standard inch ruler side, and line up the arrow right at 12 inches. And come down to this chain and line it right up. So that first arrow right in this first pin, and the last arrow, and they should both be dead center in these chain pins. And this one is definitely not, it's over like a millimeter. This chain's stretched. So manage expectations, cruddy old housing, rusty cables, stretch things, worn out sloppy derailleurs, worn out cassettes. Just putting new cables and housing on and new bars, might not, even if you set everything up right, might not necessarily solve all the bike's problems. If the chain and cassette are worn out, things still might be sloppy and terrible. Low quality shifters might be half worn out or never worked that well from the factory. So manage your expectations, but we'll do the best we can without killing ourselves trying to make this shift as well as brand new Derailleur stuff. You know, like really high quality stuff with no slop and great pins and everything's new and everything's not worn out and everything's high quality and machined to the correct tolerances. So take it with a grain of salt. This bar is up higher, but it's not that much higher. I almost wonder if we'll get away with saving some of this cable and housing. Other things I noticed, the front tire is super low, the back tire is completely flat. It's missing a cable tip here. The chain's got a little rust on it. I like any service I do for a friend or a customer, I like them to like the service and want more. I'll probably dust the bike off a little bit. It's just been a year since she's ridden it. Even though it's not a real tune-up, spent 5 minutes making it cleaner, putting the cable tip on, lubing the chain so it's quiet. You don't want someone riding out of your bike shop like, they didn't pay me to lube the chain, so I'm not going to do it. And they ride out of your bike shop and like, my bike's all squealy and weird, that shop sucks. Because they don't know what you're doing or what the real consequences are. So I'm definitely going to wipe the chain and lube it, and I'll lube the pivot points. I'll do like a half of a tune-up for free, basically. Because I want her to be happy and like it, and still like me and recommend me and come back for more stuff. We didn't talk price at all. At my old shop, I charged $150 minimum for a bar swap. And that covered all the labor for replacing cable and housing, covered the labor if we had to do a brake adjustment and derailleur adjustment, all that kind of stuff to make everything work as good as it could. But that was usually doing drop bar conversions, so we had to like change the shifters out and change the brake levers and a bunch of stuff. This thing really might be a lot less work. And I like to tell myself that and then give people discounts ahead of time, and then I'm always wrong. It's a huge mistake, and you shouldn't do that. So we didn't do nothing. I don't have a real shop. You know, my rent here is, my rent bills are like $700 a month here. Whereas Kenton Cycle Repair, you know, it was like more than double that, and when I had Norther, it was about 10 grand a month just to keep the doors open. What's going on? Is this rounded out? God, we love finding problems already. This reminds me of an old picture I found. I post on the internet all the time, and it's true. I've definitely had 30-minute jobs that absolutely cost me hundreds of dollars and took weeks to fix. So I order a special diamond drill or something like just cray-cray. So really, even though I started futzing around on that end, the first thing I'm going to do is put this bike on the ground and pump these tires up. It's been sitting for a year. There's a very good chance the tires are just really low and it's not a puncture and it's not real flat. But I don't want to do this at the end and then have to sit around and wait. So I'm going to pump it up first, and then by the time I'm done with everything else, we'll see if the pressure's still holding. See if it needs a new tube or not. Balance magically. These are pretty fat tires. They look at least 32s, maybe 35s. You got a really weird Schrader valve. It's all metal and threaded, so it looks like a Presta. I got this pump at the Goodwill. I don't think I've ever tried it. Let's see if it's cool. 732s to 35s. Like I usually like about 65 to 80 psi in them. Skinnier tires need a lot more pressure because they have a lot less air volume, and fatter tires need a lot less pressure because they have a lot more air volume. Put these bad boys right at 80. Just I like putting things, you know, at the max for people because they're going to be riding them for God, who knows if they'll ever put air in them. Maybe next year they decide to get a tune-up or need some other thing done. It'll be the next time I get pumped up. Really, I like to pump my own tires up every 2 weeks to a month. If I haven't ridden a bike in a while, so the first thing I do is I always go right to the pump. Oh, look at that! Right on the top, there's a giant iceberg of glass. I do call them Max, are shaped like an iceberg, and they're razor sharp, and this thing probably has a flat. I'm just going to take a little soap and put it right on that hole. So as I pump it up, oh yeah, air's coming right out. No question about that. It is bubbling and crusting over. You can see that tire. It's bubbling. That's because there's an air leak and it's getting pushed out through that hole. Back to the fun stuff. No matter what, these three-ways, I always start with the exact wrongest size. Loosen these bars and levers first. Usually on these 4-bolt faceplates, guys love them because they don't have to change bar tape or whatever when they're swapping bars, but I hate them because you usually have to take every single bolt all the way out to do anything. This bar is real flat. There's a good chance I don't have to do that. I'm going to loosen it up. And this won't slide all the way off because the cable's in housing, but maybe we can slide the bar back. Ha-ha! Slide the bar back this way. Get this one off. Now the bar can come all the way out. Bye-bye. Totally fine, lightweight, alloy. Nothing special bar. Pachanga! Now, this bar is not going to work with this stem. So this bar has a bubble section where it's blown up. The bar's 22.2 and they blow it up to 25.4. The bubble section's only so long. This stem's so wide. I mean, it is right on the cusp of totally unsafe. It's like just the inside edge. Oh, and the back's even, the back's a little skinnier. But I don't like it. I'm just going to dig around and see if I have a better stem. But I don't care about throwing into this project. So we'll see. And that might be a lie. I went and looked through all my stems. I don't have anything that's got a narrower face. It isn't like insanely long. The stem's pretty short. Got a lot of long energy stuff. Then I started looking at this bar compared to a bunch of other bars, and it's really not... Modern bars don't really seem to be that much wider. They're just less pronounced on the drop-off. I was looking at the dirt line in the old stem, and it looks like the stem bolt's chunky enough, it gets enough purchase all the way around. If I get this bar in super straight, I think, and the back's even closer in, I think it'll be fine. I just want to be sure, you know? It's all black, so it's very hard to see. I'm going to do a little trick, because this is so hard to see in there. I hate black on black bike. So I'm going to get it lined up in the light. I can see the Wald logo. I'm going to put a black Sharpie mark up the front, in the center, just so I know. It's very hard to see too, but it's a lot easier. The customer's never going to see it unless they look. Also, Sharpie comes right off with a little rubbing alcohol. So I use Sharpie all the time. I'm not afraid. This way I can actually get it kind of eyeballed up in the center. And yeah, I'm going to say like, oh, I can kind of see the end of the Wald logo on there too, so kind of center it that way. But I'm going to say that like more than 50% of this clamp is touching this bar on the front and like 90% on the back. It might be fine. It might be fine. It might not. We're going to tighten it down and see if it does anything weird. The rightest thing would be to run down to old Tomcat and see if he had a stem. Does all the right things. Or a more modern riser bar that had a little bit of a wider surface area. And that might happen, but we're gonna play. I also want to level this thing. When we get on the ground and do it, I want to make sure the bars are at a pretty good angle. A little forward swept like a BMX. God, I hate black on black stuff. Why is everybody like black so stupid much? Stupid bikes. When you tighten these bolts, you really want to go crisscross applesauce. Do a little on one, a little on another one. You don't want to end up with one face clamp touching the back side of the stem and a giant gap on the top up here. You want them to be nice and even Steven. Alright, I'm probably paranoid. I think this is probably fine. I didn't realize how wide this thing was and how much leverage there is. If it creaks or slips or anything, we'll be swapping the bar of the stem, but I think we're golden. Yeah, so I'm playing with this, and this one almost looks like it'd reach, but it's really a couple inches too short, and this one, not even close. We need 3 or 4 more inches of shift and brake. So really, I'm just going to replace everything. I mean, there are some double-sided ferrules guys use who like to replace their cockpits all the time. So I could use all of this existing housing, add a double-sided ferrule, and just add a few inches of housing on the end, but it's more work than it is just to replace it all. So replace it all we shall. Which means we got to reset up the front derailleur, we got to reset up the back derailleur, we got to do all the things, and front derailleurs are not my favorite. Especially on hybrids that has some sort of insane internal routing. So this might turn into a how to do internal routing video too. Unfun. But useful for videos. So we're going to start at the beginning. I want to get these shifters up on here. Pull it out a couple inches. Stuff's falling all over already. Here's another problem you run into with vintage bars on modern setups, is the bends are often very tight and the length is often not very long. So this big bulky shifter, it's already hitting in this bend. For some reason, these modern style shifters, they usually have any tension on them. You jam into this bend at all, they often will not work. Just any pressure up here causes problems. So we might have to really bring it back a lot farther than we want, so it's not hitting things, which leaves us with pretty short grip areas. Yeah, we're already losing like a half an inch. Luckily, she's got these lock-on grips, So they have a hard piece of plastic inside, so about a ½ inch is not going to be a big issue. I know Soma just advertised they're making a new bar end plug for making your bars wire. It plugs in here, it's just like a couple inches long. Like a bar end shifter, but just handlebar extensions. I'm sure they're very expensive, but they exist now. I've not removed the front derailleur cable yet, and I'm worried about it because I don't know how it runs. And I am worried. It looks normal here. It goes into a loop-de-loop, and then probably goes into some horrible trapdoor contraption down here and up into the frame. I have no idea where the stop is. This one comes into the frame right here. Maybe there's a stop in there. Maybe we gotta run the bare wire from scratch. Maybe I should stop being a weenie and just figure it out. I just assume that this is the one that's going to bung me up the most. And it's free! Before I go yanking this all out, internal routing sometimes a big pain, sometimes is a little pain. I want to see what we're dealing with. It's not the right one. Oh, so these do go crisscross applesauce on this bike. Oh, that's great. Okay, so this is the one. This is the front. Comes in on the wrong side. We'll probably do these one at a time because it's a weird bike. How far does this go into the frame? There's a nice dirt line there. So it goes all the way in. Oh, and I already pulled this out. I say a smart person would leave that in, run an old cable all the way through. You can't really do it on this because it's weird, because it's just a hole over here. We're just going to have to do it the very, very hard way and trying to fish that cable through. This is going to be a nightmare. I can't think of a smarter way of doing it. It is what it is, bro. It is what it is, bro. So this is a pretty long piece of housing already, and I know it needs to be at least 2 inches longer. I'm going to try running this back in by itself again, just out of curiosity. Is there a full internal sleeve? Does it line right up? Nope. Oh, hey! Look at that, it's poking out the bottom. Maybe an issue, maybe not such an issue. The bottom's a big half C of metal, all showing, with a cable guide next to it. Maybe we can get this to pop out anywhere and then just slide it over into the cable guide. Hopefully, hopefully, hopefully. Otherwise, this is going to be a more fun video. So I'm cutting one of these about 4 inches longer and hope that that is long enough. Maybe we should go a little longer. Got me a big fat roll of Jaguar. Let's add this much. So that's probably like 6 inches. Reminds me of an inappropriate joke. Now, I might be able to get that. There's nothing wrong with that cable and that housing. I could probably reuse it on the front. Just so used to always want everything to be right and new. Just replace everything, but. So now these both ends have a rough cut. I'm going to take a pokey tool. Make sure this little sleeve's open. Make sure there's no big burrs. I'm going to take it to the bench grinder real quick. And go boop, boop, boop. Make sure these are real flush. Alright, these guys are flush. God. You got the light shining down. It's hard to see underneath bikes. You really need a flashlight. I know I have a flashlight. I don't know where that flashlight is. Got a spare bike light. Just wondering how this piece of housing dead ends down here. Oh, okay. So the little cable guide screws onto the bottom, and it definitely has like a built-in cable stop. So I can get the cable down, probably line it up with that stop, go through, make my life real easy, except for getting it lined up with that stop, because there's no way to get it lined up. Get down here with a tiny screwdriver and a pick tool or something. Peel me. Well, in we go. Let's see what happens. This is such a terrible design, Specialized. You guys really are the worst. Oh, my pokey tool, man. This housing is just poking out the bottom. I'm going to see if I can stab it with my pokey tool. And then just guide it underneath this guide into place. I'm guessing the answer to this is going to be no way, Jose. I mean, this guide's just got screws on it. Probably take it right off. Put this in, then put it back on. Why am I torturing myself? So now you can see what I was saying about this guide. The bottom of this tube is just not welded. So it's just a little half moon of open space, and this guide bolts on the bottom bracket shell, has a little guide coming up for the front derailleur to guide the cable, has a built-in housing stop in this ridiculous little guide. Ridic. So, all right. And it definitely needs a ferrule. I had to pull it apart. This is the smartest, easiest, rightest way. I've decided. This old housing is like in very good shape. No damage to this ferrule. At least steal that. The other one's probably inside this frame then. Oh, see if that helps it fall out anywhere. Probably not. Probably just rattle in there forever now. Twisting this guy. It's curving in here and hitting the other cable and not popping out the end. So I'm turning it to try and get the loop past it. There we go. And now it'll slide out the other end. All right. Your ferrule is on. Oh, the old ferrule did fall out. Good for me. Pop this dude back in place. Push it up in place. And assume it's going to fall right out when I start running the cable and housing, so I'm not going to hook this up yet, otherwise I will be pulling it apart again. So let's see if this hooks up and fits. It looks pretty good. It is nice and long. Turn the bars all the way sideways without pulling anything out or mangling or bending the ferrule at the end. I'm real happy with 6 inches. There's another joke in there. Got this ferrule. It's brand new, perfect shape. Now this cheapo, modern Shimano 8-speed Alivio shifter, you actually have to take the faceplate off to change the housing or change the cable. That sounds like a pain in the ass, and it is easy to lose those screws. The old style one had a little plug and a thing, and you had to fish it, you had to look under the flashlight, so we're going to call it, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Which way is a pain? It took me a while, because I was really looking for that plug the first time I saw these. I've definitely lost this screw every single time I've ever worked on one of these. Got a fridge magnet, maybe that'll help. Yeah, no, almost, come on. I got it, so little teensy tiny screw. You will lose. Put it someplace safe. I'll drop it when I try and put it back in, so I usually lose it. And then it's like nowhere to be found. Faceplate comes right off. Try not to mangle all the stuff. It's all just exposed in here for you to break so easily. I'm back to my pocket screwdriver to help guide this out. And so, yeah, it's already trying to pop the little shifter rail off. It comes right out. Alright, there we go. Stay in place. I guess I'm going to take it all the way out. Front shift cable. It's almost mangled. Old fronts are usually pretty short. They're not reusable or savable. I might try and save the old rear out of here if there's nothing wrong with it. It's not mangled at all. Let's find out. It's nice and smooth. This one's faceplate's off too. So the rear is quite a bit longer, but it's been trimmed. So now it's too short for the rear. Most guys will recommend replacing all your shift cables and housing and brake cables and housing, and that's mostly true, and that stuff really is like brand new, no mangle, stainless steel. In which case, like, come on, it's fine. This one's really trying to make a run for it. Yay, magnet! Magnets are cool. If you don't want to spend the money or go get tools, most old bikes you're going to buy to fix up forever will come with a little cycle computer with a little magnet on the spoke. I save those. I got those sitting around everywhere. You can jam a bolt in the back as a handle or just use them as is and use the magnet. Alright, this cable is like basically brand new. A little kink at the end, that won't matter. It's a little bit at the head. This is a little bit of a round. It's not a kink, it's just a little bit of shape. I think it'll be fine. As I ran this whole thing in here, I have to wind it through the shifter first. Thinking it's something else. All shifters are this way. It's a lot of brakes that have, barrel adjusters with splits you can set up after the fact. Dirty light. Cool. And again, I do have a headlamp. I'm just being too lazy. All right, this is still seated where it's supposed to be. It's popped right out. Everything was golden. Oh yeah. Let's see if we can get this all in. Cannot see where the hole is. You have no idea what's lined up at all. Cool design. Just can't stop reiterating what a great design this is, Specialized. How are those holes invisible? Black on black on black. Bike garbage. If I ever see one of these again, I'm charging an extra $20. I see that hole. It is lined up. All you have to do is start. That's all you have to do. Will not start. God. You'll wonder why I like working on old bikes and vintage bikes. They're like, they're hard. They're not hard. They're so elegant. Smartly designed by actual bike racers and riders, not by corporate tools in Malaysia to sell more bikes. The whole industry is like, oh, the bike industry is tanking. Support your favorite brand. Favorite brands are destroying their own businesses and the bike industry, overcharging for everything, underqualitying for everything. The lamest 80s bikes were so much nicer than modern, like, kind of expensive bikes. Yeah, start! Nothing like a little upside down and backwards action. Oh. Woohoo! Now this dude goes up the rest of this totally insane guide. Oh. Tight! At least the Specialized logo kind of looks sparkly, but it might also be like reflective-y paint. I can support that. And then this has to come up from the bottom of this derailleur and wrap around to the other side. So why would you have one that just came right up into place? Why not wrap it all the way around for no reason? Engineering. Some kid went to college for this. Got paid a lot of money to design this. Probably never ridden a bike in his life, let alone serviced one. I don't know if you guys know about that, but there's a long-standing beef between mechanics and engineers. Keep romanticizing the idea of starting another bike shop and doing tune-ups on hybrids again for a living. And then actually work on one. I'm like, oh God. Oh dear God, why? Then I romanticize buying frame building tools and equipment. Build bike frames again, but I know that's worse. That's kind of cool. But even though it's junk, it's only double on the front instead of triple. Shipping's a lot easier. But it is grinding the outer cage plate because it wasn't set up right from the factory. But even the tension not right on the trailer, it still ships. I've never seen one of these as just a double before. That's so weird. I think this is the ring being warped more than anything, but just let the derailleur out and see. And they're not labeled. Oh, high-low. Good. Hey, alright. I don't think it's possible for it to overship this big plastic bash guard. So letting it out a little bit is going to be fine, and now it doesn't grind. Front derailleur is usually the worst. In this case it was. Problemo solvdo. Might as well move on to the front brake. We're standing right here. And it looks like it's a good 4 or 5 inches short too. Say at least 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna say at least 3. I'm gonna go 3.5 or 4. Alright, I got a new piece of housing. I got to cut down about 4 inches longer. Clean it out. Took the bench grinder, give it a little bzz, bzz, bzz. Make sure it's real flush and flat and no burrs or bits of the metal poking in. Pokey tool to clean. Onto my handy dandy little kit I've made of spare extra bits. We need to find a couple of brake ferrules. Okay, one metal brake ferrules. That one's barreling on there. Get rid of this front one. There's definitely a split on the bottom, so we can turn the barrel adjuster. Come on. Where all the splits line up. In theory. Away with thee. Trying to decide if I want this the inside of this cable or the outside. You don't really want your cables to rub and stuff. I think this is the best. Inside it is. This little thing has a little boot. V-brake boot. This is going to see if we can do the same thing we did for the derailleur on the back here. So we can save this old cable. Cable is long, looking for any kinks. Seems fine. Plug it in here. Through the splits. Turn them so it doesn't fall right back out. We're trying to do stuff. Getting it loaded up. I'm just going to go ahead and lube this little V-brake noodle too. Just 1 or 2 drops of lube. Not too much. Don't want pouring it all at the bottom. Onto the tire, onto the brake surface. Ugh. Ugh. Nice one, Specialized. Real high quality brake you got there. Junk. Your brakes should really say like Avid 5 on them or, you know, Shimano Dior. Just say something on them. Otherwise, they're just going to squeal and wobble and give you problems and be total junk. Bike companies love trying to make garbage look like nice stuff. In the 80s, at least all the garbage bikes looked like garbage bikes. Pull it all the way tight. I'm going to let it out a 1/4 inch or something. Maybe a little bit more. We can play with barrel adjusters and things. Barely tighten it up. Lots of room for it to move. You can see the spring on this side is way stronger than the spring on this side. So this side needs to be tightened a little bit, or this side needs to be loosened a little bit, or the wheel's not in straight. We can play with that afterwards. I'm pulling this lever, and the lever gets about parallel with the bar. I really don't want less than that. You don't want it to feel tight. You need some leverage and some travel, but you really don't want more than that because you want to hit the bars and whatnot. So that's about where we want it. Cinch it up just a little bit. Let's see if this wheel's in straight. Like I said, every time you work on a bike, even just fixing a flat, you're going to do half of a tune-up. Let's turn the spring adjuster in. This is a little screw down here around the side of the brake. It pushes against the spring and adds tension. Now it's pretty even. Just a couple of twists of that screw. Doesn't take much. The other side's already out a lot. I don't really want to mess with it if I don't have to. And if the springs are real crazy, you can take one of them out and bend it more to add some more tension to it. Cool, Dad. Cool. Oh, hey. Welcome back. So, been working on this bike for an hour and a half. Since we turned off the camera yesterday, I went ahead and just finished the rest of the cables and housing. The internal routing, this top tube was a little tricky, but it's pretty self-explanatory. And the rest was real easy, and the shifters all seem to work, and everything's great. Right now I am working on this tire. Pull that piece of iceberg glass out. Just put a little piece of Gorilla Tape in. This stuff's really tough. The hole's really big or scary. You can cut a little bit of Tyvek or Mylar or a dollar bill or whatever and put it in there, then tape that over. It'll probably be fine. If she has more problems with the flats, we can sell her a real tire, or a real shop can sell her a tire, or I can go find her one. Found a brand new tube in the box at the bins a couple of weeks ago, like the Goodwill, so it cost me like 50 cents. And I just put some air in it to make sure it's good. It looks brand new, it's never been used. It's 27 1 1/4, which is technically the right size for this bike. This bike is 700 by 32 with the fatter Schrader valve, which is basically 27 1 1/4 with the Schrader valve. So I pumped it up, it's not making any leaks, hasn't gone down. I want the right amount of air in this tube. So just enough to keep it shape. Not too big, it'll be pinchy in the way, and not too little, it'll be all flat and pinchy and floppy and in the way and get itself pinched and torn. Wow! Popping in the valve stem. Come on, man, get up and over. Get up and over, then we're going to tuck. Tuck, and as you go, you can't just stuff it in, you got to kind of tuck it just a little bit. Otherwise, it'll be all weird and tight in here. When we get to the end, there'll be a big, giant, loopy bulge. People are always buying tubes from me and coming back and like, it's the wrong size. And I'm like, I promise It's not. Gently tuck in order to fold over on itself at all or have any wrinkles. Just gently, you want it to, be all the right things when it gets to the end. Go ahead and tuck this tire. And the nice thing about fat tires is they fit loosey-goosey. They pop right in. These little 723s, man, they're a nightmare. Always yank the valve stem up and down. This is where it likes to really pinch and pop and explode, so want to make sure it's nice and free. On tighter tires, this is so loose you barely have to pinch the tire back all the way around and look between the tire and the rim tape. Make sure you can see the rim tape, make sure the tube's not poking out under the tire, poking out the rim where it's going to get pinched when I try and fill it up. Nice and noisy. I think I set the front to 80. I think I'll do that to the rear. And check and make sure it doesn't say anything crazy like 60 max. Don't explode me, bro. I think it says 85 to 95 pressure. That's crazy. We're gonna go 80. Always shifting the smallest cog in the back to make it easy to get the wheel in and out. Hook the back brake up. These brakes are being sticky and weird. I adjusted them a little bit. And the second you touch the lever, it's all shitty again. So now is the time. Just around the head of the brake bolts where it goes into the brake. We're dripping a few drops of lube and that'll sink under that bolt and down those threads and make these brakes get all smooth and nice again. I replaced the rear derailleur cable and housing as well. It was so long. I did like a tandem length rear cable. And this is one piece of housing all the way up and through. Just fished out that hole in the bottom of the frame and up. But that's cool. We're gonna lube this chain as well. I just go around and lightly rub this guy on there. Just trying to drop like a half a drop of lube on each link. Always got so much dirt and fuzz on it. With that lube, just to make that rust disappear. And get inside those pins. Make everything quiet. No squeaks. We're gonna adjust these brakes. We're basically doing an entire tune-up for free. To make this bike nice. It is what it is. Something I noticed was that these brake pads are way too low in the back. So I'm gonna adjust them. I usually end up doing that with every flat repair. You're like, why do bike shops charge $20 for a flat repair? Well, because we have to do like $20 of work on your bike to get the wheel back in straight. Where's Brat? The burr or something here is running back and forth to knock it out of the way. It's like being a jerk. It's like hitting a couple millimeters too high or too low, and it's like you cannot be in the right spot. Little burrs trap you and make your bolts want to sit where the burr wants it to sit, not where you want it to sit. It's a V brake. It's like a V and Canty. They both swing in, and as they come in, they come down. So I like to have the pad pretty much as high as possible on the rim without it being up on the little line of paint. It's not worn off yet, up over the lip. You can touch the tire. Just like a little millimeter showing. Low, low, low. I mean high, high, high. Whereas on road calipers, do the opposite. They swing down and up. So you want to put them low, low, low on that rim. I mean, it's only a couple millimeters of difference, but being pro is being pro, my dudes. What else are we gonna do? We leave those points. Trailer shift great. Just gonna maybe wipe it down. Pretty clean and nice. I might come in here and just drop like a half a drop of lube around these threads, around these pivot points. I wanna make sure this thing shifts nice. It doesn't give anyone a hard time. Same thing on this rear. On the pulleys, lube those little pie plates so some lube can get behind it. Headlight dad. Oh, way too low. Worse than the other one. Yeah, the front's the same way. All the pads are kind of half worn out. And this one's hitting acceptably well. It's kind of terrible. This one's way too low and totally worn out from rubbing. Bad brake adjustment. Before I do that, I'm going to take a closer look at these backs and make sure they're not all totally worn out too. No, these are fine. The front was set up way, way, way too low, so they're all super worn down. Let's take a look at them. So as you can see, they're like almost new on the bottom and the backs. They're adjusted so bad, where the top's completely worn off. Junk. And we're back. It's like 9:30. It has been a day. It's a very busy day. Dog park, breakfast. Went to see this old mechanic dude's complete bike collection of all of his old parts and things he had. He kind of wants to maybe sell me some or all of it. Couldn't really make up his mind. I told him to think about it. I might buy it all for cheap. And then back to working on this bike. And then Anthony came over. Then we went to lunch. And then came back and finished Anthony's bike. And then dog park. And then got back and I was tired from a hard day. 10, 12 hours up and doing stuff. Take a little break. We're going to finish this bike. Where do we leave off? These old dead brake pads have got to go. Ooh. I have this one set of random Bell brake pads. That seems more up this bike's alley. Sure, they're fine. They're like Bell stuff, so it's like cheap Fred Meyer bike pad stuff. I bet they're way better than the stock ones are on here. And again, I'm going to sand all this gloss off. Get down to the nice, good, soft rubber. No shine, no shine. So same thing, pulling the hardware apart. So we got the fat cup and the cone, and then we got the cone and the skinny cup and the washer with no. I like to do this with the tool in, tighten it up. Got the spring out still, so it's really easy to hold these brake pads up. Get them lined up on the rim where we want. And tighten. Then we can pop the spring back in place. Same thing to the other side. I bet these pads are set up terribly because these brakes have so much flex in play. They probably squealed like crazy, so they just adjusted the pads until the squeal went away. So hopefully that isn't totally bonus. We're trying to set these up. Wipe a little dirt and grime off, make sure it's not causing us any problemos. Looks pretty lined up and flat on this rim. Like I say in every video where I set up brake pads, people be like, you got to tow your brake pads in. It is not true. I set them up flat first, see if they squeal or not, and then we start messing with toe in, toe out, different angles. Oh, here's a problem already. These brake pads are fatter than the old ones. Cannot get that quick release. And this is all the way in, so there's like no room to let the barrel adjuster in to get it. So we gotta let it out up here. I probably already kinked this cable. If you get a kink in here, in between the brake arms, your brakes will be mushy forever. You're always unstretching the kink instead of putting brake force on. It is no bueno, so we'll be doing a new brake cable if that is the case. That's always sad, man. Cables aren't cheap. Did I over tighten this? No, there's no kink. It looks alright. It looks alright. Good old me trying to get stuff tight without over tightening it. What? What's up, bud? Why are you sticking? Oh, pop that up here. Popped out and sitting in the split and being all goofy. That's nice. Stops really well. Plenty of room to get the quick release open. Beautiful. Only got a few things left to do now. Like popping these grips back on. I'm not going to tighten it down because when I put it on the ground, I'm going to level it to where it seems about right with my palm. And then I'll tighten it down. I'm still going to pop this face back. I already did the other grip and did the other face. But now I want to do this one for the video. It goes back on about the way it came off. Make sure none of the parts fell out. It's got this little shift indicator, little orange dot that shows in the little clear face. Make sure it's in. Pop this dude on where it goes. A screws. Trying really hard not to drop these on the floor. I always drop one and lose it. It's a big problem. See these dead ones in a while. I should really start buying them. Buying a set of dead ones for the bins or CCC for you know, $1 just to have the screws to steal out of it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. One last thing, I already put cable tips on the rest of the bike, but I did not do the front derailleur because that's what we were really working on. I think I showed the front brake too, so might as well do it too. And put it on, one good squeeze, don't fall off. Tuck it out of the way. Don't rattle and make noise. Rub it up against the tube, it'll brrrr and make a noise. I just gotta put this bike on the ground, tighten up these grips, make sure the bar's the angle we like, make sure the lever's an angle we like and not hitting the bars. Tighten the grips, and this dude will be ready for a test ride. What do we think? Those bars look pretty good. They're pretty straight up and down, but this guy's got a little bit of relax and flex down this way, which is what you want when you look at it. You don't want to be up, you want to be like kind of a degree or two back. The levers are totally insane. I get them as close into this bend as I can, but the closer I get, the body's hit the bend, so it's got to come back. It's got to come back to get down. Get a little bit up, come into the bend. Like I said, if you jam these bodies hard into the bend, sometimes that little bit of tension on the body will make them not shift. So be careful, be gentle, barely touching, and we will just have to hope that everything works. I'm going to go on the test ride and they're not shifting well. I'm going to loosen these up and move them back a little bit and see if that's all it is. Using my eyes to line up along the bar and along the brake levers. I got this one where I want it, so I'm going to see a couple of millimeters of the brake lever sticking out past the grip. So I know just to move this one to the same thing. I just see a couple millimeters and we know that it's they're, you know, in phase with each other, not all wonky. You can also do crazy things like get out a tape measure and measure from the end of the bar clamp to the end of the bars, and I do stuff like that. You want to be real pro. Putting these guys on, and I have a flat spot for your palms. I'm gonna kind of roll it up. It's easy to adjust, so I'm just kind of guesstimating what seems like it'll feel good. Support our palms. Get about the same. I'm kind of lining up the bolts with the bolt down here. Hopefully that's about the same. And we're golden. It's like 9:30 and dark and cold and it's late. I don't want to deal with stuff, so I will test ride this in the morning. Tires are still holding there. That's a good sign. I did also straighten the seat. It was all crooked because the bolt was super loose. So I straightened it. It's also at a terrible angle. It was like nose way down. I don't know if you've seen the other videos where I talk about this. Everyone wants their seat to be as tall as possible, gets the most leg extension so they feel like they get a lot of power on their pedals, but it's super uncomfortable on the front, up on your soft bit, so everyone noses them down, which just means you're always sliding forward, so you're basically doing a constant push-up or handstand in your hands, so your hands are getting numb. The trick is you need to have this seat not nose down, not level, but nosed up a little bit, so your body can naturally slide back and sit your sit bones on the fat part of the seat. And the way you do that is you nose it up and then you lower the seat post until you can sit and balance on it. Everyone's like, you gotta be really high on your tippy toe. And it's not true. You want to have a good extension of your legs, but you want to be able to balance and rest your sit bones on that fat part of the saddle. So I never do that to a customer without talking to them first. Some people are just like, no, they freak out. The idea. But no one who's ever ridden their bike into the shop, ever in the history of ever, has had their seat post at the right height ever. It's always been 2 inches too low, an inch too high. Like, you know, it's just one of those things. People never ride frames that fit them either. They're always riding bikes that are like 6 inches too small, 5 inches too big. Seat posts always slammed, giant seat posts and super long uprights down. Like, it's just wild. That's just how it is. So I'll talk to her about fixing that seat if she wants to. So anyways, yeah, tomorrow morning, first thing in this daylight, we'll take this out for a test ride. See if the bars creak or everything shifts right on the road, everything stops right on the road. See if these feel like they're at good levels and angles and all that jazz. And if so, we'll give her a call. I'm going to make a price sheet for this as if I was at a shop. I usually do this as an estimate for people so they can approve work or not. She just dropped it off, I didn't care. I don't have a shop, I'm not paying that overhead. I'm not really going to charge her that. I'm going to let her pay me whatever she feels like. If she wants to pay me $0, is fine. $20 is fine. I'll be insulted. But really, a shop would charge about $200 for all this, probably a little bit more. So I'll tell her that and be like, you know, I have no shop overhead. How about $100? Seems like a lot of money just to swap out a handlebar, doesn't it? But it really takes a lot to get a handlebar swapped out. If we swapped out this straight bar for another completely straight bar, maybe one with a little bit of sweep, maybe just a tiny bit of rise, none of this could be avoided, but you want that height, you want that whole different shape, it is a whole ball game, bro. Alright, so I got the tune-up on the Specialized done. It is upstairs. I'm about to send her a pic and say it's done, and so she can come get it. Test ride went great. It shifted fine, it felt good. Brake stopped. I adjusted the rear barrel adjuster. It's a little mushy. The full cable run, so I made it a little tighter so the brakes feel a little more even. The front's pretty tight. And the rear was squish, so I made the rear pretty tight, and it's great now. And I did go ahead and make up this list. So this list is the way I hand wrote bills when I owned a shop. So a little P by the parts, a little L by the labor to make it a little clearer to read. So at the shop, to swap bars and change all the cable and housing and all the labor included with that, I would do $150. That was just the labor, then plus parts. So it needed cable and housing. So cables housing's like $3 a foot. Cables are like $5 a piece, or at least they were in 2019 when I closed my shop. And then it also the rear flat. And I was charging $24 for rear flats. It was $10 for the tube, $14 for labor. I put a little piece of tape in for free. You know, a real boot would be $1 or $2, but I never used them. Got this grand total, parts and labor, and grand total's $222. So that is how much that video we just watched would have cost at a real shop, and I probably have like 4 hours into it, so it's about 2 hours of labor. And now we know why I didn't do so hot as a shop. But we can charge $400. The bike was probably $399 brand new. Like, we can charge $400 to swap some bars. It's crazy. But also, that bottom bracket really messed me up. Now that I've done that bike and done that cable routing in the bottom bracket, I could probably do, you know, it took me 45, 50 minutes just to do it. I could probably do it again in 10 minutes now. So, you know, that's a learning curve on my part. And I got it all figured out now. So bike's done, I'm gonna give her a call. I also offer a 30-day warranty on parts and labor of anything I do. I was at the shop, but I never really counted the 30 days. You know, someone comes in 45 days later, like, I didn't ride my bike for 2 months, and then my first test ride had this problem. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'll just fix it, because it's usually really minor adjustments. It's only boned me once or twice on something really expensive and labor. So, thanks for watching. So in the middle of doing the tune-up, Anthony came over with his frame and fork and wheels, and we swapped out the bottom bracket and put these cranks on and tightened them down and dug out these brakes from my bin and hardware and stem and bars and brake levers and cable and housing, and he brought the saddle and found the seat post, and we whipped out a sick bar bike single speed in like a couple hours. We just gotta do some final touches and adjusts and some test rides. I don't feel nothing. Let's see. Oh, no, I feel that. There's nothing here. I think it's just these brakes.
Okay.
Could be the hub. I don't know. This nice little Fuji came out awesome. Do you like the angle of the bars and the levers and stuff? Stem straight. I think I would put the levers more down. Okay. Tighten those up. And the bars might be cool. I might move the bars up a degree or two. I don't know if that stuff's tight. I say tighten those levers and let's test drive this thing, man.
Cool. We'll grab the 15 for you.
Yeah, double check this front wheel. Yeah. I was like, maybe that's what's.
Yeah.
Yeah, something's wrong. I bet it's just these shitty brakes. Just having a bunch of play in them. I might gonna loosen them up and tighten them down. Tighten those bolts. A dual pivot bolt a little bit or something. You gotta be careful because you tighten it too much and the brakes don't work at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not enough to have a little play. Fuji Robix. But luckily I had a tall 26.6 seat post. Had short reach black brakes I got at the salvage sales for $1 or $2. Cable and housing all came from salvage sales brand new for $1 or $2. Yeah, I got nothing into most of these parts, so free single speed build. Sweet, sweet. That's what this tune-up video needed. It's already like 2 hours long. I need another 20, 30 minutes on it. Jesus. Add another 5 or 6 minutes of this cool bike. I like this bike. I love really classic vintage single speeds. They're my favorite.
Yeah, I just want something that'll be high vis and low want to steel.
Yeah, low tweaker bait.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Everyone wants everything wide now.
Yeah. I'd say do a 6 skid, but it's on the freewheel side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sound effects like Quicksilver when they add the freewheel effect for his right and fixed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, okay.
It's comfortable. It's upright. It's a bike you don't gotta worry about.
Yeah, except for that freewheel.
Yeah.
Bling bling.
Yeah. Yeah.
The white industry is so fancy and nice looking.
Like one little fancy bit on it. That's it. Could put the King headset on it.
Ha ha ha, yeah, you could. Then you're in trouble. Then you start putting nicer and nicer parts. Once you start, you can't stop. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, now I can't lock it up in front of bars anymore.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe I'll spray paint it. Maybe I'll cover it in stickers.
Yeah, because the frame looks great. I wouldn't spray paint it.
Oh no. No.
Some reflector stickers. That's cool stickers. I wouldn't even do that. I'd probably put a couple of really subtle reflectors with stickers on it.
Yeah.
Just so cars don't hit you.
Yeah.
I like the reflective spokey dopes.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Come a 12 pack. When you're riding, if a car hits you from the side, it makes your entire wheel Tron. It lights up the whole thing with a disc. It's so cool.
Yeah. It's like the Schwab Marathon sidewall.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I used to sell a bunch of those too for some reason, because everyone liked them because they're puncture proof, but also because, yeah, they were reflective. They're way more safe.
I'll get a new chain on there soon.
Yeah, that's really bad. But it's stretch. You don't want to wreck that nice freewheel. So you got one nice part on there now. All of a sudden, you got all these chores. If it was a shitty chain or you get a shitty freewheel, it's like, who cares?
Right.
It's a single speed. You can ride those things till half those teeth are completely worn off, the other half broken off. You couldn't tell. I really do like this frame. I like the white with the half splatter paint, the little bits of color. Like, it's good.
I like the amped, like the broken TV.
Yeah, it's cool.
Broken TV fuzz.
Well,
Be able to
sick.
put a front bag on it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Or a sick messenger rack.
Yeah.
Really, I just like walled baskets more than anything. The medium walled basket is the perfect bike accessory, and everything else is stupid expensive.
It's weird riding on skinny tires. That's going to take some getting used to, but that's kind of what I wanted to do.
You go up a size or two.
Yeah, it fits 28s max.
That's all right now.
I think 3s.
Really? God, they look like 32s, but they look big, but I'm crazy. Oh, they really are 23s. That is crazy. I have 28s on my city bike in my basket, and it's like, it seemed great for a minute, and I rode my 650 bike again, and then got back on my 28 bike. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
That's why I did the Terry as a 650 conversion. It's just much nicer. It's just so much nicer.
Going from 2.2 to 23.
Well, you'll feel fast, and you'll feel every bump in the road. You'll be fucking watching the road at all times for every bump. You're like,
Yeah. We'll see. It'll get me out on a couple of rides I've wanted to go on and stuff.
Heck yeah. Bikes. Bikes are cool.